करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वनिवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So let's chant verses number 6 and 7, and we'll complete verse number 7 today. हृत्पुण्डरीकं विरजं विशुद्धं विचिन्त्य मध्ये विशदं विशोकम् अचिन्त्यमव्यक्तमनन्तरूपं शिवं प्रशान्तममृतं ब्रह्मयोनिं तमादिमध्यान्तविहीनमेकं विभुं चिदानन्दरूपमद्भुतम् उमासहायं परमेश्वरं प्रभुं त्रिलोचनं नीलकण्ठं प्रशान्तं ध्यात्वा मुनिर्गच्छति भूतयोनिं समस्तसाक्षिं तमसः परस्तात्. So in the last class we were finishing up the seventh verse, which we will do today, and with that we will complete both 6 and 7, and then I think after completing verse number 7, just a few words left there, then we will do a meditation on both 6 and 7 together, as we had planned to do in the last class. So we will do that today. So we had already seen Uma Sahayam Parameshwaram Prabhum, then Trilochanam Neelakantham Prashantam. This is what I'd like to spend a few more minutes on. Trilochanam Neelakantham Prashantam. Okay. So the word meaning of these words is Trilochanam means the three-eyed ones. So this is a description of Shiva. So Parameshwara, this is a description of God. You know, however we name the word God, really doesn't matter. I know one of our students, for example, was talking about Christ consciousness, and that's exactly what it is. Really, Shiva consciousness and God consciousness and Christ consciousness really comes to the same thing. It is really a feeling about the presence of something huge, major, timeless in ourselves. This is what it's all about. So here in this 7th verse, a kind of a, because if you recall, I just want to make sure that it's consistent with all the previous classes. We were talking about appreciating the qualities of God, qualities of Shiva, and qualities of Shiva not as someone different from me, although it might start by that step, but to appreciate the qualities of someone else is not that useful to me. Supposing you're talking about, and this happens every day, we talking about someone like, all these people that are competing in the Winter Olympics in Beijing, and then you find, wow, she has done so well in swimming, and ice skating, and so you appreciate the gunas of the person. So it's kind of nice that you appreciate it, but it's not how useful to would that be to me? I've got my own life, my own problems, and so on. And so appreciating the gunas, qualities of someone else is limited to a point. My mind feels better if I praise someone, but it's very limited. It doesn't mean much for me. So here we are appreciating, this is a difference we should see. This is what the whole Vedantic teaching is all about. That you first appreciate the qualities of Shiva. See, because here's what happens. Yeah, this is an important thing to see. See, look at this. Look at the steps that we have to go through to complete the picture. If we go to initially and talk about our own qualities as being timeless, our mind will stop us and say, well, how can that be? That doesn't make any sense. That I am free from all problems is not our experience. And so we don't accept it. So you'll say, that's kind of interesting. Vedanta is saying that I am without any problems. And so how important can that be? How, not important, but how effective can it be? Because it doesn't match my own experiences. So this is an important thing to see. So therefore, you first describe the qualities of Shiva, Ishvara. There I am willing to understand that. And in fact, the very definition of Shiva means that it must be. I'm not going to go for something which also has problems. There's a famous story that it's a real life story, I understand from what the descriptions are, that there was a Mughal king in India who was one of the better Mughal kings, but he was still not quite what the Vedic kings should be. He was a Muslim king, but one of the more liberal Muslim kings called Akbar. This was the he was in, I forget what it is, in the 16th or 17th century, so recently in the last couple of hundred years. So he was the king. So he had a habit, he had a way of ruling where every morning he would open up his court for people to come, and then he would preside over it, and then people can give certain petitions to him that I want this, I want that, um, and so then he will decide based on their requests whether the requests are reasonable, can he help you, all of that he would go through for a couple of hours, hour and a half or whatever. And so this was his custom. So one day there was a guy who came in and he wanted to ask him for some help. So he came and sat down there, and that day the king was late. So he had gone to, he was doing some morning prayers to God, and then he was late. So this person was patiently waiting and so on, and he asked everybody, what has happened, because I've got some work to do, and the king is not coming. And said, no, he'll be here. He's just doing his prayers. So he says, he's doing his prayers to who? Well, he's doing his prayers to God, his God, Allah. And he's doing, so he says, why is he doing prayers to Allah? Because, he is still a human being. He's a king, but he's still a human being. And he's praying to God, and that's what he's doing. So this guy just sat there and said, my goodness, there is something wrong with this picture. If there is a powerful king who supposedly has everything, and he is praying to God, then why am I praying to him? Why shouldn't I just go straight to God? And as the story goes, this is a real life story, while all these discussions were going on between him and the fellow sitting next to him, he started to get up and leave. Just then, King Akbar was arriving, and he arrived. And he saw this man leaving. And he called him out and said, Sir, where are you going? I thought you came to... He says, my prayers to you, Shri Akbar. Not Shri Akbar, this Akbar. But I am now wise enough to understand that if you are also a beggar, and I'm also a beggar, you may be a richer beggar than me, but I might as well go straight to the person who gives me the answer. So thank you very much. I'm leaving. This is the story. So in that sense, really speaking, all of us are wanting to do something to quench our hunger, our thirst for a sense of freedom and a sense of goodness and joy and so on. So the question is, how are we going to do that? The only way we can do that, if we understand the qualities of God. That was what that story was, that really speaking, I'm beginning to think that even the most powerful king is a beggar in front of whom. That means that the God must be able to fulfill the wishes of anybody that prays to him. That's the kind of God that I have in mind. I'm not going to have a God that I'm praying to who himself has problems. That's exactly what was happening. He thought that Akbar was the one who could fulfill all his wishes, but maybe not. So anyway, all I'm saying is, going back to what we were saying, that I can appreciate the qualities of God as being separate from me. I cannot appreciate those qualities straight away about myself because my mind wouldn't let me. It would just put spokes in my thinking. What are you talking about? Deathlessness? Are you kidding? You must be crazy. You're a body and you're going to die, and now you're saying I am beyond death? No. But if you say God is deathless, then you can say, okay, I'm willing to listen. Then what happens is that as you appreciate the qualities of Shiva, you understand that those qualities of Shiva have to be in you also, because otherwise you are limiting Shiva. You see, this is an important thing to see. The very definition of infinity means that it has no limits. That means if Shiva is limitless, then I must be limitless. Because I cannot be a separate entity limiting the infinity of Ishvara. It will violate the very definition of infinity. We're not talking about large numbers, we're talking about infinity, limitlessness, absolutelessness, not relativelessness, not relativity but absoluteness. So here's the thing, here's what we need to appreciate. So when we appreciate the qualities of Shiva, and that's what he's saying, dhyatva, in the last two sentences. Dhyatva munir gacchati bhuta yonim samasta sakshim tamasaf parastat. That having looked into this, you cross all sorrow. Tamaha means darkness and sorrow. You cross all of them. How do you do that? By appreciating Shivam as Virajam Vishuddham Vishokam Vishadam Achintyam Avyakta Anantarupam Shivam Prashantam Amritam Brahmayonim Amritam. Not possible to be killed. Amritam. Vishuddham Virajam. Not possible to have any problems whatsoever. So this one I understand. Then it goes into Vibhum. Vibhum means present everywhere. Very powerful. Prabhum. And where was the other word that I'm looking for? So all the words really, not just anyone. Mama Sahayam, who is the consort of all the Shakti, as we saw in the last class. Anyway, let me complete that, what I was going to say. So then what happens is you appreciate the qualities of God, and as you appreciate the qualities of God, you realize that that can only be if you also submit yourself to God as non-separation from Him. Because the ever-presence of Ishvara, the very infinite presence of Ishvara cannot be if you are not also it. So now we can complete the loop. You cannot directly appreciate your own qualities unless you appreciate the qualities of Ishvara, Shiva in this case, and through them you let that percolate to you, because you are okay in understanding the power of God. There your mind does not give you problems. And as you do, your own sense of separation melts away. You see, this is exactly what happens. And I'm also creating this in order for me to explain the two words Trilochanam and Neelakantham. So Trilochanam and Neelakantham is a mythological reference to Shiva. So here the mythology, the religious part of Hinduism, by invoking the mythology of the description and so on, should be appreciated. Okay? And I'll summarize it in the end, but let me explain to you what Neelakantham and Trilochanam in different sequence. Trilochanam and Neelakantham mean. Okay? Alright, so let's go into that. So I had already mentioned this to you in the last couple of classes, if you can recall, and I think it came up in our Zoom satsang also, that there are 5 things involved in the entire cosmos. You recall that? So one of them is Satyam, one of them is Jnanam, one of them is Anantam. Anantam means infinity. And Bandhanam and Moksha. So the very nature of the cosmos is that it is free of problems. Always there, independent of any time or space, absolutely free. This is the nature of the cosmos. This is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, Asti Bhati Priyam in the Drigdishya Viveka. Satchidananda. We've already gone through this. So these are the first 3. And the last 2 are, if you don't know this, and Satyam Jnanam Anantam, the word Anantam here becomes very useful, because Anantam means infinity. That means that you must be also be the part of that. Not even part of that, you are it. Infinity has no parts. So it's not as though you are part of it. And we've gone through this before, that a wave of an ocean is not a part of the ocean. It is the ocean. It is an inseparable part. The bricks of a house are parts of the house. But a wave of the ocean is not a part of the ocean. You cannot, ocean is not made up of small waves. It is the waves. Whether the waves are there or not doesn't make any difference. It is the whole thing. It is the water itself. So the word Anantam means that it is infinite. And you are not part of it. You are it. You see? You're it. If you don't know that you are it, you've got problems. Bandhanam. What a lovely cosmos. I'm avoiding the word creation because it is not a willful creation, but this is the way things are. That there is complete freedom and independence of problems. And if we don't know this and we only take ourselves to be a separate entity, then there is bandhanam. There is moksha. There is no moksha. If we know it. So knowledge is the one that really separates us. Knowledge in the sense of non-understanding, some crazy assumptions that we make about ourselves. And so this is the situation. Okay? All right. Let's go to the next step, which is Trilochanam and Neelakantam. That's what I wanted to explain. All right. So then what happens is, from a mythological standpoint, for those of you that know a little bit of the mythology behind it, Shiva is shown to have initially two eyes that are open and a third eye which is closed. This is one stage of the Shiva. The second stage of the Shiva is that the third eye also opens. And it's very interesting, the placement of the third eye. I remember when I was a youngster, we all knew these stories as we were growing up. It's very funny. We do not accept it. The eye was over here. I remember when we were youngsters, we used to say, how can you have an eye in the forehead? Well, the artist has to put it somewhere. Where is he going to put it? Nose? On the cheeks? I guess you could, but it is better to put in the center of the forehead. So it was shown, and in fact many of the stories you will see that the third eye of the Shiva also opens. And by the way, there is a story about this, about how Shiva destroyed Kama. Kama is the god of love. And so these are all mythological stories, and Swami Viditatmananda has given that very nice story here also. So anyway, this is the third eye. But in the context of what I was building up in terms of bandhanam and the fact that you can appreciate the qualities of God before you appreciate the qualities in yourself, in the context of that, let me give you this way of looking at the third eye of Shiva. And actually we will do this in meditation today. And which is this. So listen to this carefully. If our mind is focused on myself as a limited human being dealing with the external world which is different from me. I only have two eyes open, and the third eye remains closed. Because I only need two eyes to symbolically deal with the world. So my externality means looking at things around the world that look real to me. That's all I have. What I have to transact with is the symbology of the two eyes that are open. And the only time that what happens is that physically I get tired and I close my eyes and I go to sleep, but my sense of my limitation and the externality of the world remains. And when I open my eyes in the morning, that situation resumes. And I am still in the same situation. Why? Because my internal view of myself is that I am just a human being born at a particular time, endowed with certain tools to myself, such as my hands, my legs, my prana, my breathing, my mind, my ability, that whole thing. This is who I am. This is my reality. And there are other people like that, and the whole world is different from me. And it's all moving. And one day it's just going to collapse on me. This is my view. This is signified by just those two eyes. Okay? All right. Then the Vedantic teaching, the Vedas teaching, the Upanishads, which we are studying, Kaivalya Upanishad, comes along and says, this is just a partial picture. It's a picture that I understand. It's not new to me. I also went through the same thing. That you are a limited being is the common experience, and it's a good starting point. But you are missing a huge portion of this picture. Huge portion. Really? What portion of the picture am I missing? You are not looking at the essence of who you are. You are only looking at the surface. We can relate to that rather simplified example. If a wave is sorrowful and feels that I was born on a particular day, a particular time, and I'm just very vulnerable and I'm going to disappear. So then the teacher wave can say, wait, before you disappear, let me tell you, you are only looking at the very form and surface. This is a surface analysis. You're missing the picture. You are something much more than that. So at first, I don't even listen. I say, I don't know, it's just strange. I don't know if from India, I don't know. I don't understand all of this. But then you say, well, maybe I should look into it. And if the more you look into it, you say, wow, there's something in here. And the more you think about it, you'll say, wow, yes, I can see it. I don't see it fully, but I'm appreciative of it. This change is the opening of the third eye. This is what is called Trilochanam. So, in summary, looking externally is not only looking, you can look externally, there's nothing wrong in looking externally in transacting, but in the external view that alone constitutes the reality of life. That view is called looking externally. That looking externally is not understanding the reality of who you are. It's not looking, and Swami Dayanand used to say this. He says it's not as though you are enclosing the Atma, that you are somebody different from the Atma. You are the Atma, but you do not see it that way. You are the Satyam Jnanam Anantam, but not knowing it, there is no moksha. So, turning the attention, and we will do this a little bit in the meditation. Swami Tattvavidananda had done this meditation, which I really like. He took some meditations as part of the teaching of Kathopanishad a few years ago. And now that has been brought out as a book, and I was just reviewing this. And this is a very good way to do meditation, and we'll do that today. That turning your attention towards who you are rather than who you think you are, but it creates a problem in you. Who you think you are is, I'm just a human being. You're not just a human being. You are the very essence of consciousness, which is the essence of Shiva, which is the essence of God. That I am not appreciative of. I don't appreciate it. If I begin to appreciate it, my third eye opens up. This is the mythological significance of Trilochanam. Lochanam means eye, and Tri means three. You can imagine where the word three come from, because Sanskrit is a lot older than any of the other languages. It's the mother of all languages. Trilochanam means the three eyes. And the significance of the word Trilochanam You see now, significance of the word Trilochanam is exactly as I had explained. So now you can appreciate this, that if you are first looking at Shiva as an as a as an external god having three eyes, but then you look at it by superimposing it on your own experience, then the mind makes it more acceptable. So this is what it is. This is the word Trilochanam means. And we'll confirm it in the meditation in a minute. Then I think I'll just have time to go into Neelakantham. Neelakantham, and then after that we will begin the meditation, which will take us about 20 minutes to half hour, so this will take us to the right time. Right? Neelakantham. Neelakantham means the blue neck. The blue neck. This also has a mythological component and a spiritual component. Just like Trilochanam also has a mythological component which leads to the spiritual component. Similarly, Neelakantham is the same way. What is the mythological significance of Neelakantham? So it's a long story and it's all given in here. I won't spend a lot of time on it. It's given in this book, and you kindly review this if you're interested to see what the mythological context is of the blueness in the neck area. The neck is blue. So Shiva is portrayed to be effulgent, lighted, whitish, light colored one. But the neck is blue. And there is a mythological component where there was a fighting going on between Devas and Asuras, and they were churning the ocean, and so they wanted to get some amritam, some nectar of immortality, and before that, some poison came out which would have destroyed everybody. It was so powerful that Shiva was requested, you kindly swallow it, otherwise it will destroy us. And as Shiva started to swallow it, then Parvati, who's the consort of Shiva, protested and said that if you swallow it, then the whole Srishti will die. So Shiva essentially got the poison inside, but did not swallow it completely and stayed in his neck and became blue. This is the mythological component. I'm not sure there's any reality to it, but it's a very interesting story. So what is the spiritual component to this? This one was really explained by Swami Maheshananji very well in his book on Rudram, which I really like, and I hope to spend more time on the Rudram. I'll tell you more about it some other time. But anyway, in their book, Swami Maheshananji, and I respect him a lot, his wisdom and his experience, and how everybody knows how scholarly he is and so on. So I have a complete shraddha towards Swami Maheshananji. He says, look at it this way, and it really fits the picture of Trilochanam and the externality and the internality, all of that fits very well. The Neelakantham. How? Okay. He says that it is a common practice that if a couple has a very beautiful baby, then you want to protect the baby from some ill will by people who are jealous of you. So in India it's called, in the southern India it's called drishti. Drishti. So the word drishti means that you do something to the child so that people's eyes go to a spot on the child's body, not on the beauty of the child's body. So you prevent people from looking at the beauty by artificially putting something on there, somewhere on the, usually it is done on the eyes or somewhere. This is common practice, it is done all the time. You take a dark color, some lead or something like that, and you put it there. And so people, when they look at the baby, they don't feel jealous because you feel there is something, this mark on the baby becomes a distraction to them. This is called drishti. Okay, so this is the context. So again, it is said, spiritually said, from drawing from the mythological story, that the blue neck is like your drishti does not go to the beauty of Shiva, but you keep asking, how come his neck is blue? Supposing you have Shiva's there, all of a sudden there is a completely different picture by having the neck is blue, which is not supposed to be. The body is uniformly has a certain color and you appreciate it. But if there's some portion is a completely outrageous from the rest of it, it arrests your thinking. So you keep thinking that why come the blue? People appreciate the whole beauty. Yeah, I know I'll appreciate the beauty, but I want to know why is the neck blue. This is the picture. So now we can complete it. What happens is this whole cosmos is so beautiful, so precious. It has all the other qualities that we talked about, virajam, vishokam, vishuddham, achintya rupam, etc., etc. But all I see is the externality of it. I am very concerned with what's happening in the world. The impending war between Russia and Ukraine, the coronavirus, the climate problems, fighting between Democrats and Republicans, the China becoming strong, all those kinds of things is really what I'm concerned with. And my drishti my vision is completely wrapped up with this external world, and I have no vision, energy, emotional commitment to a deeper understanding of who I am, what is God all about, how is this world operating. I don't. This is the reason for what is called Nilakantha. So, these are the two important words, Trilochanam and Nilakantham, which have a kind of like a strange reference to the Shiva, but you have to understand the significance of this reference to Shiva. Anyway, I've taken more time than I'd hoped to, so let's do a smaller meditation, but let's do the meditation. Perhaps we might have to do this again. We will do that perhaps again, but let's just do a smaller meditation today. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to turn off these two bright lights. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Neelakanthaya Mrityunjayaya Sadashivaya Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. As we sit in this meditation, even with the right posture, relaxed, with my eyes closed, my mind continues to be characterized by thoughts of the external world. By the external world, I mean the objectified world, which includes my own body and thoughts and so on. Even with my eyes closed, my mind has thoughts remaining from my previous experiences, the vasanas or samskaras of my previous experiences. It is still dancing from thought to thought, and just active as it is. But if I simply direct my mind's attention to myself, I find that it quietens down by itself. We have taken this example before, and let us do this again. At this point, we will focus on the one sense organ which is present throughout my body. And this is the sense of touch. And I appreciate the sense of touch as I sit here in the various points in my body. I see and I feel the touch of my feet resting on the ground. Similarly, I find the touch of my thighs with the chair. I find the touch of my hands in my lap. I find the touch of my fingers clasping each other, and as I grow more sensitive to the touch, I can even feel the touch of my eyelashes touching each other. I can even feel it more if I just open my eyes a little bit to disengage the eyelashes from each other. Let some light come into the eyes. And then see, by closing the eyes, how the eyelashes are touching each other. By just doing this, the mind has quietened down quite a bit already. It requires no pressure on the mind to change, nothing. If this example of focusing on the sense organ is any indication, then focusing on my own consciousness as my nature is even more effective in quietening the mind. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. My nature is Shiva. Quiet, unchanging, self-effulgent, self-existing, having no beginning, no end. It's just there. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Silence. Silence. Silence is my nature. I don't need to do anything. I am steady, stable, self-existing, awareful being. I am an awareful being. I don't need the body to be an awareful being. I don't need the mind to be a awareful being. I don't need my breathing to sustain me. I am just an awareful being. I always have been an awareful being. Chit Swarupoham. I see that my mind just becomes quiet by itself. I don't need any push, no pressure, no force, no discipline. Just an appreciation of myself as an awareful being. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. There is no trace of sorrow, of any problems in me, the awareful being. This is who I am. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is the essence of these two verses, number 6 and 7. What I would suggest to you is to read the verses with the meaning of the words and excuse me, read the meaning of the words, understand the meanings, and then follow it up with a meditation based on the meaning of the words. So this is Nididhyasanam. This is the Vedantic meditation. As you can see that the thoughtlessness of myself as a awareful being is based on an understanding. And the understanding stems from an appreciation of the Shiva in me, of Parameshwara. So the qualities of Parameshwara, of Shiva, Paramatma, Brahman, Atma, whatever you may call it, or if you have a Christian background, through the Christ consciousness, doesn't matter, it's the same. And so this is the essence of looking inwards. So my suggestion would be to go through the understanding and then follow it up with Nididhyasanam. And if you do this for a length of time, you will gain the wisdom of these Upanishads. So with that, I close the class, and we will go through the next few verses after that, number 8 and 9 and so on. Okay? Om Asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Very good. Good to have you all. And I will hopefully see you next week. Okay? Hari Om.